All right, Court. So the next bit of news that we have here is talking about Forza Horizon 5, and there's actually two articles that we want to go through and two bits of news about the game. The first is that Forza Horizon 5, there is going to be no demo when it comes to the game itself. Basically, when the game is going to be coming out this fall, and it's coming across all Xbox platforms, releasing November 9th, typically they do release a full demo, and this year we're not getting a demo, Court. What do you think about not having a demo and why they're not releasing a demo for this game?
I think the answer is obvious, and I hope this is the answer. Two things. One, it will be the first time a Forza game, releases day and date on Game Pass. Mm-hmm. And second, there's a pandemic going around the world, and we've talked about this before, doing these E3 stuff or doing demos and all that. It takes them away from polishing the game. And I think Microsoft made a decision, and a smart one, and this is just my opinion, that they were like, let's just make the game better. And maybe there's a demo that comes out down the road. We've seen all the pre-order bonuses for the game, and we discussed this. We're like, is that news, pre-order bonuses? Because most people in that Xbox ecosystem are going to be playing it on Game Pass. Now, the DLC and any of that Seasons Pass stuff that comes out after, I'll be excited, because you talking about the Hot Wheels, I was thinking in my head, my brain was turning. I'm like, oh my God, imagine they could make a DeLorean, or they could do like an El Camino or something, because the game's set in Mexico. Like, give me something fun, give me some fun DLCs, or, with the stunt stuff. There's a lot to do there. I'll put my money in that. But with no demo, to me, it has a lot to do with pandemic, and people are going to try this game. The game being on Game Pass itself is a demo, right?
Yeah. And you could, I was like, there's no other way to say it. It's like, it's on Game Pass, so it is a demo itself. There's also, like, if you wanted Forza Horizon 4 right now, if you're waiting to, if you never jumped into Horizon, period, and you're like, I got to get a taste of this, it comes out in November, just download Horizon 4. It's on Game Pass. So that's your demo, because the games are going to be very similar. You're going to get way better polish on 5, a different world. But if you're like, I want to understand the mechanics and what the game is about, then just download for Horizon 4, and that is your demo. That's what I play right now. So it's fine. I agree with you. I think it's just the pandemic, and it takes more time and more resources away, like you said, from polishing and finishing the title. If you're going to do a demo, that to me seems just unnecessary at this point for a big title like that. You know what Horizon is. If you're a Game Pass subscriber, it's right there. It's on your queue. It's right there on the front screen. So if you don't know what it's about, then get last year's game. I don't think it's a huge deal. I'm glad that they're not going to take time away to work on a demo that they would arguably play. Like, if they're announcing this now, they probably made the decision for that months ago. It's just coming out now. Well, if you had no roadmap to do it, it's not like they turned around yesterday and walked in and said, yeah, you know what, we don't have time for this demo, pull out. Well, they probably decided a long time ago.
And let's be real here. Xbox is trying to sell a service. They want their games to sell on their own. Like, I'm sure they're just like Scrooge McDuffing and diving into their money pit when they're like, okay, you just spent the same amount of money on the game solo when you could have just got Game Pass. But in all fairness, there are some parts of the world, there are some regions where internet speeds are not the greatest. I learned that myself when I went on vacation this summer with my family. I was in an area of Ontario where it was almost impossible to download something. It would probably have taken me the whole time I was there to download a game. And then when I tried to play via the cloud, it just wasn't that good. So I do understand that part, but if you're Xbox, you want people to start playing this on Game Pass and say, oh my God, like, this is a reason to go buy Game Pass, so that they get their subscriber base up. And putting out a demo is trying to sell the game on its own. You want to sell Game Pass. And that's another sneaky in my head.
I think it's also an optics piece too, maybe even internally. I'm guessing here, but like, you want to be able to flex that you have this very, very successful racing series in Horizon. People that play the game tend to really love the game. You want to turn around and be like, we don't need a demo for this. This game does not require one to be sold to. We want to sell, like you said, we want to sell a platform of Game Pass and being able to experience Horizon. We don't need a demo for this. We don't need to put in more resources and time into something for 6 weeks until the game comes out. What's the point of that?
And when was the last time you actually played a beta, demo? Like, we all play betas. Like, am I extremely excited for the next flight for Halo Infinite? Yes. And to everybody, as long as you put in your requests by September 13th, they have said every single person that put interest in will get an invite to this edition of the flight. So we will all be playing Halo Infinite. But for a game like Forza, I think you're right. Do you need that? Like, there you have Game Pass. Just if you want the demo, get Game Pass and play all the old ones.
Yep. Now, speaking of continuing the conversation around Forza, the other piece of news that we discovered about it is that Forza Horizon 5 won't support cross-save between the Xbox and the Steam versions itself. So just to go through this little article very quickly from the outerhaven.net, Keith Mitchell writes, and I'm going through just a little bit further down in the article, that while Forza Horizon 5 will support cross-save on Xbox platforms and Windows Store versions, they won't be compatible with the Steam version of the game, meaning that if you play the game mainly on Steam version and then decide to go play over on the Xbox, your progression won't transfer over. And that's definitely bad news for those who were looking to pick up the Steam version or vice versa. Court, what do you think about this? Is that, and I bring this up for two reasons. One, to be able to get the news piece out regarding Forza, but two, it's interest. Do you think that this is a bigger issue? We could see this being a bigger issue down the road with future titles.
Yes,
because that's the other reason why I think we want to talk about this.
Yeah, I do, and I think this hunkers back to, we've all complained about it on the PlayStation side. Mind you, their whole cross save between the two games is just a convoluted nightmare. But he puts in there, Keith puts in there, it's likely due to Xbox and Windows stores using the cloud service to store saves, which the Steam version won't have access to. That makes perfect sense, but I've spoken to other people that I personally have a Steam account, but I've only bought Civilization on it. My brother was explaining to me that when Halo Master Chief Collection went to Game Pass and he signed up for Game Pass, it knew he already had the Steam knew he already had it. So when he went into Steam, it was like, you already have it. So I don't know how the two systems work, but it also could be a play and a smart play. PlayStation does this all the time to get people more onto their ecosystem over the other one, because we all know now with that whole Epic lawsuit with Apple, how the back end works. So if you're spending money in the Windows store, Windows gets all of it.
Yep.
If you spend money in the Steam store, Steam takes a cut. Mm-hmm. We all know what it is now. We all know why some games have cross save, why some games have cross save between platforms. We now know there's a cost involved. 9 times out of 10, Microsoft pays that cost. But if you're looking at a tentpole game like Forza Horizon, do you want to spend that kind of money?
Or on a title that might be a little bit smaller, that because Forza will sell across your from Windows and Game Pass, and then you eat the cost on Steam and other areas. And if it's a smaller-ish mid-tier title, you start wondering, do we really want to put this on Steam? Is the player base going to be there? If it's something that's not really as tested as Forza or Halo, for example, are we really going to try and put that over there? Or should we just keep it all on Windows and on Xbox? That's where I see things getting interesting down the road, as we see this almost division in this line in the sand of companies like Microsoft saying, not really interested in putting my stuff on Steam. We got enough player base now with cloud, with cross save, everything across all our devices. We don't really need Steam. I think that's ultimately what the goal is, obviously, as a player goes, I have a Steam library, so I have everything in there. And this one Xbox title that I really want is only available on Microsoft. All right, well, one more click of the button this way. Is it really a big deal to the player?
Maybe, because as someone who's not a big PC player or playing on Steam, the people on Steam, like, they remember when the Epic Store opened? Like, the amount of people who needed tissues was unbelievable, how mad they were, because PC players had never felt what it was like to be part of a console war and have exclusives. Mm-hmm. And then when Epic came in and put exclusives on a different launcher, let's just call it what it is, just a launcher, those Steam players, like, honestly, my brother included, they wanted to cry. And it was a bit much. It was like, wow, like, I guess you just guys forget what it's like to own consoles, but it could be a play by Microsoft to push Steam out. But from what Xbox has always been saying is we can play anywhere, where we'd put Game Pass on anything. But I wonder what the percentage is. I think Epic's talked about it before. I think Steam takes 20 points. So I guess Microsoft is like, I want to keep my 20 points. So if you're a Steam player, you're going to go out and buy it. That's fine. But if you already own an Xbox console, you don't have to. You're cross save between windows, so they're asking you, hey, don't launch it on Steam. If you're on your PC, I can easily click on my start menu here, or when Windows 11 comes out, my start menu in the middle, and I can pull up the Xbox app. It's very easy, and you're just right into the game, so you don't need Steam. So they're looking at, hey, there's unwanted time and effort we have to do to put in to make this cross save in between the two platforms. If you're on PC, we'd rather you not click on Steam. So I think you're right. We'd rather you just stay in the Microsoft ecosystem, because if you buy the DLC or buy anything extra or buy extra cars, you're going to be doing it through our store.
Yep.
Instead of doing it in the Steam store. And then they don't look like bad guys like Sony does when they're like, well, Call of Duty's allowed to have cross progression and cross save between Xbox, and you can play with Xbox players, but so-and-so game can't because we wanted 25 grand and they didn't want to give it to us.
True.
And we know that that's the number now. Like Sony says, you give me $25,000 or no. And they don't even care when it comes out and looks bad on them. Microsoft is like, no, we'll just let it happen. Because they're trying to get all that goodwill back. But this is maybe a play by Microsoft to say, hey, it doesn't even make sense to you buy our games in Steam. If you're playing on PC or you're playing on console, you should just be getting it through Game Pass or our store, which makes sense.
I think you nailed it, because I think too, it's not so much Microsoft would not put their game on Steam, even though there's a cost, but I think they would be much more likely to say, we will not do the cross save piece, because of the, like you said, the extra time and work that it takes to do that. So as a player, you're like, you can't dog Microsoft in one regard, because they're not saying, oh no, they're saying it is available on Steam. We're not denying you the access to the game. You can play it anywhere. Play it on our front, or you can go over to Steam if you choose to do that too. So we're giving the player the option to play anywhere on anything they want. That's not the thing. But what will hook the players is what you're saying is, but if I just click on the Microsoft side, it's all there. And I can play on my console or my PC. I'd probably just rather do that. It's going to be easier long term. And I think the very long term play is what Microsoft would be looking at 10 years from now, when they could say, we have our own ecosystem that has had, the Game Pass has not been in play in the wild for that long. It is still very, very early for what it will be in 10, 15, 20 years for Microsoft, where it could just be Game Pass. Like, it's not the console, it's not the box. We're already seeing that, and it's very early. So I think that they just become their own ecosystem, like they are. And in 15, 20 years, none of this matters. It's going to be just, I play on Game Pass.
And technically they are. Like, the amount of PC players, if they do complain about this, saying, oh, what about my Steam? You're like, you are already playing your game on Windows. So you're already in the ecosystem. Why do you need them to have cross progression? You could literally, if you even bought it on Steam, I still don't get why you would. You might as well go to the Microsoft store, because it depends on where you play your games. But like, you could just click. Like, the other day, I was like, okay, I can just easily play any cloud game, like Psychonauts 2. I was sitting here working, and I was like, hey, you know what? Psychonauts 2 is on my Xbox Series X because it's the better experience over my S. Still great on my S, but I was like, hey, I want to check it out. And I played it on just through my PC, through cloud gaming, and it was phenomenal. So Xbox is looking more at the future, possibly, because you got the Xbox TVs coming out. We all know the apps coming out. There's going to be TVs in the next 2 years, even the next year, that we're going to buy, and it's just going to have Game Pass built right in. And all you're going to need to do is hook up your controller via Bluetooth. And I would suggest, from experience, to hook up through the LAN wire to your TV if you can, instead of Wi-Fi. And you're going to be able to play Game Pass anywhere. Xbox is doing something very smart, where if they can make Game Pass a la, Netflix or Disney Plus, because I think they're the two best at the streaming services in my mind, for my value in my house, you don't need Steam.
But you could still have it if you wanted to.
Correct, but they want to keep their 20 points. Let's be real here.
Yeah.
They want to keep their 20 points, and it makes sense, because where would you buy the game? If you know you have an Xbox or you want to play it on your phone sometime, why would you get it through Steam? It just wouldn't make any sense to me. It just wouldn't.
No. And I think that that's what they know, and that's the path that they are going to go down with. But let us know in the comments below, everybody. What do you guys think about no demo for Horizon? Does that matter to you? As well as a cross-save piece and cross-play, and not being able to do it over on Steam. And are you more on the Steam side of things, or would you be, like Cord is saying, just getting it all in Microsoft and on the Xbox ecosystem on that front? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, everybody. And as always, thank you all for assembling with us. See ya.